the radical, fundamental principles of freedom, rational self-interest, and individual rights. This is the Yaron Brook Show.
All right, everybody, welcome to Yaron Brook Show on this Monday. It's Monday, September 8th. I hope everybody's having a fantastic Monday, beginning of the week. All right, I guess we can just jump into the news. I'll just say we'll probably have shows all this week and over the weekend. Most of them will be around this time, maybe a little later, but except for Thursday, where it might be quite a bit later, but I'm going to try to do the shows at around 3 o'clock the rest of the week. All right, so let's start off with some bad news. So we talked about this on Friday. Milei had a regional election, local elections that his political party was participated. La Libertad Avanza is his political party, and it was participating in these elections. These were elections held localities and some of the districts. Anyway, winning these elections was not that important for what Milei can and cannot do at the national scale. But the results of these elections were deemed to reflect his popularity and deemed to be reflective of the potential for his political party in the October parliamentary elections, where he has to do well in order to get enough parliamentary influence to be able to continue with his reforms. So the hope was he would do well in these regionals, and that would give him some momentum going into the October parliamentary elections. Unfortunately, it didn't work out like that. The election was quite negative for Milei's political party. Polls showed that the Peronists, the center left, well, really left, I don't know what's center about them, the leftist party, would win by 1 to 3 percentage points, which would be fantastic, which would show his political party on the rise and being a significant force in Argentina. Unfortunately, the Peronists landed up winning by about 13 points. 13 points, which is high. So the Peronist party won 47% of the vote. I mean, I don't know what the hell the Argentinians are thinking. I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy that people constantly repeat the same mistakes over and over and over again. Now, this was just in Buenos Aires. These are local elections in Buenos Aires, but Buenos Aires is, of course, the most important district in Argentina. 47% for the Peronist, 33.8% for Milei's La Libertad Avanza, and I guess the rest of the votes went to smaller political parties. So Milei himself called this a clear defeat. I mean, that's the other thing about Milei, is he went out immediately and said, yeah, we lost, big. No whitewashing, no pretending, no evading, no telling stories. We lost. It's not good. Got to get our act together. Anyway, it's really horrific that people would continue to vote for the same policies that for decades, really since World War II, have driven Argentina into greater and greater and greater poverty, necessitating the kind of radical action that Milei has had to take over the last couple of years. So now we're heading to the October 26 national midterm elections. It's going to be incredibly suspenseful. Milei's agenda is up in the air. I haven't seen how Argentinian stocks did today, but my guess is they would be down. But there's been a slight uptick to inflation in August. The the peso's been depreciating. The sense is the growth has slowed down. Congress is creating all kinds of tensions and problems. And there are these corruption claims against Milei's sister, who is his chief advisor. So we'll see. We'll see if he can recover from this. This is going to take a lot of positive things happening now between now and October. This is what Milei said. He says, today we've had a clear defeat, but if someone wants to start rebuilding and get ahead, the first thing he needs to do is accepting the outcome. Ooh. Is that a stab at somebody we all know that doesn't accept the outcomes when they lose? Is that a stab at Trump? Will Trump see it as such? Will somebody tell Trump that Milei just said that? If you want to start building and getting ahead, the first thing he needs to do is accepting the outcome. Yet, this is a flaw for us, but a ceiling for them. And I want to highlight that the course by which we were elected in 2023 will not be modified. We will double it down. Either freedom advances or Argentina goes backwards. And our commitment to make Argentina great again is non-negotiable. So that is Milei promising to double down on his plans, on his programs, on what he intends to do. So yeah, it's a tough. I think it's a tough loss. He doesn't deserve it, and you would think again that maybe. I understand that they might not be happy with him, but maybe they go to a third party, maybe a new party, maybe one of the small parties. But to literally vote for the Peronistas, literally vote for Kirchner from Cristina Fernandez de Kirchner, the corrupt former president, to vote for a political party, to vote for the corruption, the inflation, the stagnation, just the poverty that they brought to Argentina over the last 70 years. It's just hard to believe that the Argentinian people are that gullible, that I don't know, that be willing to stab themselves. Right now, Milei has a tiny political party in Parliament, and he needs to gain some seats. He's not going to get a majority, but he needs to get significant presence in the Parliament, in Congress, if he is going to succeed there. The Peronists have the largest bloc in Argentina's Congress, and they've blocked many of Milei's initiatives, and actually passed initiatives to kind of counter what Milei is trying to do. For example, to increase government spending. They're trying to increase government spending. Anyway, Kirchner has been making fun of Milei and trolling him, and we will see. This is a wake-up call for the government, and it's going to be really interesting what they do in the next few weeks, months. Really, there's no months, there's just weeks before the October 20th election to try to turn this around. But we will see. The Buenos Aires itself, the city, is the mayor of the city, or the governor of the Buenos Aires province, is a Kirchnerite, a left-wing Peronist, who is Milei's probably fiercest critic, and is probably going to be the guy who runs against him in the next presidential election. So this emboldens him, and it gives him reason to believe that he can win. So we'll see. I mean, the one bright spot in the world politically. Hopefully not dimming, but we will see. We will see. And again, note that this is not his re-election, and it is not an election of parliament, but it is indicative of his declining popularity within Argentina. All right, I want to return to another story we covered on Friday, and that is the arrest of 450 people at a Hyundai site in Georgia, a site being built by Hyundai and LG to produce batteries in the United States, electric batteries in the United States. This is part of bringing manufacturing to the U.S., a part of creating jobs in the United States, supposedly. And ICE sent 400 agents on Friday and arrested 450 workers at these plants, claiming they were doing so in one way or another illegally. Of the 450, at least 300, it's not clear exactly what the number is, but at least 300 of them were identified as South Koreans. Now, what is amazing about this is, yeah, they were South Koreans, but these are not illegal immigrants who snuck across the border to come here. These are South Koreans employed by Korean companies, many of them contractors of Hyundai and LG, some of them direct employees of these companies. These companies investing billions, tens of billions of dollars into the United States. And these are people they brought in to help build this factory, put it together, get it ready for launch. And the idea is when it launches, this is a place that will employ many Americans, hundreds, and provide us with something that our national security kind of requires, batteries. Anyway, I thought it would be a great idea, and Trump is backing them, to arrest 450 people for working in this place because their visas are not quite right. It turns out that some of these Korean companies cut a few corners because it's so frigging difficult to get legal documents, to get people to come and work, to create a facility that then will employ Americans. These people are not going to stay here, but they didn't have exactly the right paperwork. So they were arrested, but they weren't just arrested. I mean, I don't know if you saw the videos. They were handcuffed with a chain around their body and handcuffs. Their legs were put in chains, and they were tied together like a chain. Well, no, they're not tied together, but you know, and they were boarded on buses. Regular people working, creating, building, making stuff. We're arresting them. We're putting them in jail. It's now illegal in the United States to work. Now imagine if South Korea chained 300 US workers in South Korea and put them in detention. I mean, Americans would be flipping out. This is insane. It's horrible immigration policy, it's horrible economic policy, and it's just stupid foreign policy. Remember, Korea is supposedly an ally. Now we'll get to our confrontation with China in a minute and whether the Trump administration really cares about it. But South Korea is supposed to be an ally in our confrontation with the Chinese. South Korea is the one place where the United States can actually probably build some ships. They and Japan are the only countries in the world where you can really build ships other than China. They are the second largest producer of microchips that the United States consumes. It's just, whatever the story here is, this is unbelievably stupid. And yeah, the stories are coming out about cutting corners. Yeah, there's no question they cut corners. The reality is that it's impossible to get the kind of visas that they need in order to bring the people into the country to do the kind of work, to set this factory up so it could produce in the future batteries. So, the corners are probably not that big. It's not that hard to imagine them doing it. Maybe not the big companies, maybe not Samsung and LG, Hyundai and LG. Maybe it was the subcontractors that did it. Maybe the subcontracting companies are American. But no matter what the issue is, what are we doing arresting them? What are you doing? I thought the whole point about getting rid of illegal immigrants was crime. These are not criminals. Or maybe it's jobs. These people are not taking Americans' jobs. These people are doing jobs Americans can't, don't have the skills for, so that Americans can ultimately get those jobs. And South Korea is an ally of ours. This is not some Chinese enterprise. And believe me, South Korea is going to remember this and the tariffs and the general shitty behavior on the part of the Trump administration towards South Korea and other allies in Asia. This will be remembered. And geopolitically, we're just doing everything we can to push them forward, to alienate the people who should be our best friends. According to Wall Street Journal, South Korean nationals were largely given visas suitable for training purposes, such as the B-1 visa, and many there were working as instructors, according to South Korean government officials. This is a company investing in the United States, trying to speed up the process of getting the plant built and done and getting everything done, and maybe cutting corners because of the bureaucratic hurdle that our government has put in place. This is how you deploy ICE? And they came out in full force, 400 of them. So it's really horrific, right? Why are we arresting people who are working at all, anywhere? Whether they're working in restaurants, working on farms, working in factories. By the way, ICE has already said there will be more of these raids. There will be more raids on factories. MAGA thought this was brilliant. They loved this. 450 people arrested all at once in one factory. It made their decade. They thought this was amazing. But the reality is, this is an administration and its supporting cadre who basically resents immigrants, resents foreigners, no matter where they come from, except of course, if they're white South Africans, then they're heroes. But pretty much everybody else is resented. It doesn't matter if they come from an ally country, a shithole country as Donald Trump defined them, or a enemy country. It doesn't matter. It's a foreigner, and they're bad, and they need to be out, and we need to find ways to keep them out. And let's double up and let's keep going, and let's this is just getting worse and worse and worse. The Trump administration is getting more and more arrogant, more and more confident, and going after people. The one good thing about this, there's a silver lining, as they say. And the silver lining is that the polls are showing right now that American support for immigration is increasing. Right now, 79% of Americans say that immigration is a good thing, with only 17% saying it's a bad thing. Now that's 79 is way up from when the election was held, where it was still in the 60s, but in the 60s, in the mid 60s, so way up since then. It's actually at the highest point since this survey was taken by Gallup, which was in 2002. So it's at that the country right now is more pro-immigration than it's been since 2002. And it's Biden who really, with the craziness on the border, that turned people away from immigration. And during Trump's terms, people become more pro-immigration because they see the consequence of the insanity and the nuttiness, the wastefulness, and the horror of these kind of immigration policies. By the way, the biggest shift on immigration upwards in terms of improvements is among Republicans. Republicans were really, really negative on immigration. When the election happened, they were under 40% supported immigration. It's jumped to 64% of Republicans, which is not quite a peak for Republicans. Republicans used to be, in the mid-2000s, it was over 70% for Republicans, which is interesting. It was they were about the same as Democrats. And I bet if you go back to 80s and 90s, Republicans were more pro-immigration than Democrats. Certainly, Reagan Republicans were more pro-immigration than Democrats. So, yeah, it's fueling a pro-immigration trend. This is good. This is good. We got a big boost among Republicans in favor of immigration. So, in a question, in your view, should immigration be kept at its present level, increased or decreased? Republicans, it's mostly Republicans say decreased, but that's come way down from around the election, and kept at the present rate has gone way up. So, anyway, these polls are always complex, but it is interesting. All right. God, what is the discussion going on right there? All right. Trying to not read your chats. Let's see where we are. Oh, wow. Okay. All right. Lots of super chats flowing in. I really appreciate that. Thank you, guys. Keep it up. Let's make today a good day. We need a good day. We need a good super chat day. All right. Let's see. What else do we have? The Pentagon publishes, I think every year, but certainly big revisions happen every few years. It publishes a national defense strategy. Bush published the Forward Strategy for Freedom. That was his national defense strategy. I was very critical of that when it came out in I can't remember, 2005 or whenever that was. There is now a draft of the National Defense Strategy that was just placed on the desk of Defense Secretary Hegseth. And it is fascinating. First of all, this was a draft that was the writing of this draft was led by Eldridge Colby. Eldridge Colby is kind of the intellectual behind the Defense Department within the Pentagon. He is the number 2 in the Defense Department, really in charge of strategy and ideas. And Eldridge Colby is a guy who wrote a whole book, which I read, called The Strategy of Denial, which was a book dedicated to the idea that the United States strategy should pivot. Its primary strategy in the world should pivot away from the Middle East and away from Russia, away from NATO, and should focus on denying China hegemony in Asia. That is challenging China in Asia, and providing Asian countries like South Korea, Japan, Vietnam, Philippines, Malaysia, Indonesia, India ultimately, with an alternative to China. in maintaining, if you will, America's strong position in the in Southeast Asia or in Eastern Asia generally. And you know, he's the guy who wrote the National Defense Strategy. But what is truly amazing about this document and about the actions of the United States over the last few months is it's clear that Aldrich Colby has moved away from that strategy, has moved away from that. It is re-examining the relationship between the United States, Australia, and UK around submarines. It has put it mildly, not really treated Japan and South Korea and Vietnam the way you would expect to treat them if you were building an alliance to confront China. It seems like they don't really care about that. But and this new document now codifies this. It makes it clear that in spite of the fact that Colby wrote this, the whole strategy of the United States, and this explains, by the way, you'll see, this makes more sense what's going on in Venezuela. The entire shift of the department is now moving away from Asia, Europe, Middle East, and focusing, prioritizing, protecting the homeland, and protecting the Western Hemisphere, i.e. the Americas, South and North America. This is a huge reversal from the focus on the threat from China. For America generally, and for Colby in particular, Colby was thought of as the rising strategic star. You know, it explains why the U.S. has treated its allies in the South Pacific, in the East Asia, the way they have. It explains, you know, why Trump keeps sounding an appeasing tone with China, why Trump has approved chip sales to China, which the Biden administration had rejected. And potentially it explains why we are seeing American warships in the South Korean and on the coast of Venezuela, and why we now have F-35s stationed in Puerto Rico facing South America. So, you know, with the excuse of protecting us from drugs, the new national defense strategy is going to be focused on, I don't know, cleaning up Latin America? But really protecting the homeland. Protecting the homeland from whom? Who's going to invade us exactly? Well, all there is drugs. So this strategy, if it gets approved and if it goes through, would reverse the focus of the first Trump administration 2018 national defense strategy, which clearly placed deterring China at the forefront of the Pentagon's efforts. And it seems that America is going to settle for being one of three major powers in the world, major nuclear powers in the world, with their own domain. Basically, the US will leave Russia to the Europeans, leave China to the Asians, and it will take on the Americas. That is a big shift. That is a big shift. And again, Colby is a real China hawk. So it's interesting that even he has shifted, and maybe the conclusion is, we don't have the full report yet, maybe the conclusion is it's too expensive to challenge China. It's too late to challenge China. it's too distracting from everything else we have to challenge China. So, I mean, this is clearly will constitute a pivot away from Europe. There's already more than rumors. There's already solid stories about hundreds of millions of dollars a year that are granted to Latvia, Lithuania, and Estonia to build up their defenses and military infrastructure. That funding is gone. That the Trump administration is going to pull that funding. The U.S. is going to move away from confronting Russia, and now it seems like it's going to move away from confronting China. Yep. And we'll go after Venezuela. So, who knows? It's Trump. So a strategy is meaningless until Trump decides what he wants to do, and Trump decides what he wants to do on a whim. So, it's impossible to really tell what, if there is a strategy, and what will be executed from that strategy. But, what you can expect is the continued retreat of the United States from the world stage. And surprisingly, I think, for those watching, particularly, again, given Colby and giving J.D. Vance is very hawkish on China and Hegseth, a retreat from confronting China. All right. Yeah, if you want to ask me a question, if you want to make a comment, if you want to catch me in a contradiction, then Super Chat is the way to go. You can use $2, $3. Doesn't cost much. And you can ask me pretty much anything or challenge me on anything or anything like that. So that is the way to do it. The chat itself is not something I'm going to engage in. All right, let's see. Supreme Court. So the Supreme Court has so far taken the position that it will allow the Trump administration to pretty much do what it wants to do while all the lawsuits against it go through the courts. So they can deport people. They're not saying that's their final word, but they're saying while it's going through the courts, which could take months, years potentially, the Trump administration can continue to do it. And they basically overturned over and over and over again the lower courts halting or restrictions on the Trump administration continue their action while the court cases are going through. And this happened again over the last few days. Trump removed a member of the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission. That has been challenged in court, whether Trump has the authority to just remove somebody like that. This, of course, will resonate with the question of whether Trump has the authority to remove somebody from the Fed, from the Federal Reserve Board. That is the big one that people are wondering about, and that's the one that Trump really wants to control. So that is in the courts, being litigated. The courts, in the meantime, said, no, the Fed Trade Commissioner should stay on the commission while this is going through the courts. The Supreme Court just overruled that and basically is letting Trump remove the member of the Federal Trade Commission for now while the process happens in court. So it's being consistent. It's letting Trump pretty much do whatever he wants until the cases come to the Supreme Court, and then we'll find out whether they agree with Trump or they don't agree with Trump. But we just don't know. At this point, all they're doing is letting it ride. And the second case was this idea of ICE roaming around, particularly Latino neighborhoods, stopping people who look Latino, brown skin, and asking them for IDs randomly, and having a militarized presence in a variety of different neighborhoods, and doing these these enforced stops in the LA area. Anyway, a court had basically had one second. A district court had a temporary restraining order that prevented federal immigration authorities from stopping people in Southern California without reasonable suspicion that they were in the U.S. unlawfully, which is ICE was just using skin color as a proxy. That order barred officials from relying solely on certain factors like a person's race or occupation as the basis for a stop, for a detentive stop, they're calling it. The U.S. Court of Appeals for the Ninth Circuit rejected the Trump administration's request for a pause on the district's order. And then the Justice Department went and sought emergency relief from the Supreme Court. And basically, the Supreme Court gave the Trump administration that relief. So it's letting the Trump administration resume the sweeping immigration stops in Los Angeles, again, until this comes in front of the appellate court and then ultimately the Supreme Court. So we don't know what the Supreme Court thinks about the legal ability of ICE to detain people and to ask for IDs and search them with no cause. We don't know if they view that as a violation of the Fourth Amendment or not, the Bill of Rights. But we won't find out until it actually goes to the Supreme Court. All we know now is they can continue to do it. The court will not stop them from doing it, which suggests it's not a slam dunk in favor of the litigants against the Trump administration. I'm not sure it means Trump will win the case ultimately, but it certainly doesn't look good. Trump is now asking the Supreme Court to let him freeze billions in foreign aid funding, which Congress has not approved. And he keeps going to the court to ask for relief from what lower courts are restricting him from doing. So the lower courts overall, ruling against Trump. The Supreme Court is yet to rule, but is overturning the freezes and the injunctions of the lower courts. That's where we are. We'll have to wait and see what actually happens. All right, quickly on Gaza. So President Trump has proposed supposedly a comprehensive deal to Hamas, or a kind of a ceasefire, really. A final, deal or be crushed. A deal to Hamas. The deal will involve freeing all the hostages, the release of many, murdering Palestinian prisoners who've been sentenced to life, and the end of the war, and ultimately the complete retreat of Israel from Gaza Strip. And the thing includes, I think, the imposition of the ability of the Palestinians to rule the Gaza Strip, maybe under the Palestinian Authority, something Israel had rejected completely up until recently. Reports are that an Israeli official, or the foreign secretary, has basically green-lighted this proposal, and but really they've green-lighted because they expect Hamas to reject it. But we will see. According to the offer, all 48 living and dead will be freed. Not on day one. Supposedly all the living will be freed day one, and the bodies will be released as Hamas finds them. It supposedly has to locate the bodies. Hundreds of Palestinian murderers and thousands of others will be released. And Israel will halt operations in the Gaza Strip. And negotiations to end the war will begin immediately under Trump's personal direction. And as long as the negotiations are ongoing, at least for 60 days, you hear conflicting stories, because the actual offer has not been released. There will be no fighting, and Hamas is being asked to trust Trump's word that the war will end, that there will be a deal, because they're giving up all their cards, by giving up the hostages and by giving up the bodies. Israel right now, all reports say there are significant disagreements within Hamas about whether to accept the deal or not. In the meantime, Israel has basically said that if they don't, Israel's going into Gaza City and basically going to occupy all of Gaza, and Israel is bombing Gaza on a daily basis, and is basically getting the troops ready for the big invasion, which should happen any day now. In the meantime, it looks like, this is basically breaking news, that four Israeli soldiers were, whoops, what did that do? 4 Israeli soldiers were killed in a Hamas attack on an Israeli camp near Gaza City. Netanyahu, so Hamas is still fighting, and still has the ability, I guess, to launch a surprise attack on an Israeli IDF camp. Netanyahu is saying to the residents of Gaza City to evacuate, to get out of there, and that the military is starting to go into the Gaza Strip. Air Force is leveling Gazan buildings. By the way, as you see these high rises in Gaza drop, these are all getting warnings in advance, so they're all empty buildings. They're all getting warnings in advance and being evacuated. And they are dropping all the high rises. The high rises serve both Hamas for intelligence purposes. They can see far, they have telescopes, they have cameras. They also put snipers there and anti-tank weapon systems. So Israel is destroying them, but of course they're letting them know in advance. So no Hamas personnel are being harmed, don't worry. And their equipment is not being harmed. But in spite of all that, genocide is still being committed in Gaza, obviously. Right? So it's going to be interesting the next few days. How Hamas responds to this, what the next steps are. Again, this is Trump's last warning. Trump has given many last warnings. I don't think anybody really takes his last warnings very seriously. But the idea that this is a final warning and all of that, nobody takes that seriously. But I think what Hamas does take seriously is the fact that Israel is getting ready to go into Gaza City, and I don't think they want that. Israel already controls 75% of Gaza. If it takes Gaza City, it will control 85, 90% of Gaza, and it won't be that hard for them to take 100% and then just hunt down whatever remnants there are of Hamas, wherever they happen to be. So I think now it's just a matter of wait and see if Hamas responds, and see the extent to which Israel is actually serious about going into Gaza and finishing this job. I mean, Israel keeps saying, this is it, we're going to wipe Hamas out, this is your last warning, your last chance. But Israel's been saying that since October 8th, 2023. It's almost 2 years ago. So I won't believe it until I see it. I won't believe it until Israel actually does it. This deal that Trump is trying to cut, I don't think is a good deal. I don't think it's the right deal. But give it a chance. Not that I have any choice. And at this point, we'll just see. Let's see. All right. So that is Gaza. In the meantime, in Jerusalem, in a traffic jam, a couple of Palestinians got out and with semi-automatic weapons, fired into a packed bus. The two terrorists were taken down by two armed Israelis. The bus was filled with Haredi, these ultra-Orthodox Jews with their black garb and everything, but two of them were armed, and they took down the two terrorists. But a number of people were killed. Many people were injured. They were just spraying around into a civilian bus. I mean, this is the problem with thinking that some kind of compromise, some kind of peace can be achieved between Israel and the Palestinians, and that Hamas is the problem. Hamas is a manifestation of a wider problem, and the problem is the Palestinians. The problem is the Palestinian people. It's the Palestinian people's values, what they want, what they desire. It's the fact that they're willing to commit suicide in order to kill Jews. It is the fact that they will not recognize the existence of the State of Israel. The fact is that they are not interested in a two-state solution. They want to eradicate and wipe out the State of Israel, and that any compromise with them strengthens them. Any political settlement with them only makes them stronger, only makes them more aggressive. Handing the Gaza Strip to the Palestinian Authority will only embolden the Palestinians. It'll take them time because they're going to have to rebuild, but it's going to only embolden the Palestinians in the future. Now, Trump has this plan. He's counting on his son-in-law, Jared Kushner, to put this plan together, which is the plan for the day after in Gaza, which is this massive investment plan to build skyscrapers and to build a Dubai or Las Vegas in Gaza. I still think this is a fantasy. This is them all playing at real estate barons of the Middle East, and I don't think it's doable, and I don't think this particular proposal that actually gives more power to the Palestinian Authority, which is the authority in the West Bank, is going to help, or is going to set us on a path towards building up Gaza as some kind of amazing business and entertainment and vacation spot. Remember, the Palestinians now have become more and more Islamist. This isn't secular Gaza. This is Islamist Gaza. Now, it's true, Dubai, in spite of the Islamism, Dubai is not run by jihadis, and it's not clear the Palestinian Authority is any better than Hamas in this regard. So, I think it's all a fantasy. And I think the only thing will end this is Israel going in and flattening Gaza. It should have flattened it on October 8th. But flatten Gaza City, destroy Hamas, kill them, wherever they are, one at a time, in batches, however they want to do it. Destroy the infrastructure, destroy them, blow up every single tunnel, destroy every single piece of weapon. And then, only after Gaza is completely, thoroughly, unmistakably destroyed, only then can you negotiate. By the way, me saying stuff like that is really hurting, because I was supposed to be invited to a big event in Bologna and give a talk in Bologna at a big conference and about capitalism and something like that. And the board, the leaders of the event decided not to invite me. Bologna here in Italy, not to invite me because of my position in Israel. So my position in Israel is costing me events around the world. I've already was disinvited to an event in Norway a few months ago, and now in Italy, and I'm sure this will be a trend all over the place. The libertarians hate me because they're anti-Israel, pro-Palestinian, pro-Hamas. Just see Dave Smith. And of course the left hates me, and I suspect the right hates me too. Anyway, I'm not liked by anybody. It's kind of, I'm not liked. Maybe you guys like me. Let's see this, how the Super Chat is doing. I'll know whether you like me or not. All right, we're doing okay. For the first hour, we're doing okay. We got some money to raise for the second hour and the third hour, but we're doing okay for the first hour. All right, finally, another French government has fallen. I mean, France today is becoming the Italy of the past. There was a period in Italy where governments just fell every few weeks. A new government was formed, and there were elections every year, and it was just complete chaos for a couple of decades, I think, here in Italy. I'm in Italy right now, and it was a complete disaster. France is becoming this way. This is the second government to fall, just this year or in the last 12 months. Macron is saying that he will appoint a new French prime minister in the next few days, but there's absolutely no reason to believe this prime minister will last, or will be approved by parliament, or will survive. One of the big problems is that the government was proposing a budget. They can't agree on a budget because Macron is trying to do the semi-mildly responsible thing, which is to try to cut the deficit. There's massive amounts of debt that France has. France is becoming the sick man of Europe. It's becoming the problem child of Europe. It's becoming the place that has the biggest danger of financial crisis. And he has proposed an austerity budget which foresees almost 44 billion euros of cost savings to reduce France's debt. Now, this is really good. But the proposal to cost save is not popular on the right. Marine Le Pen's right wants to spend more money. And it's not popular on the left. The socialists and the communists want to spend more money. You see, the right and the left, not that different after all, even when it comes, or maybe primarily when it comes to economics. Pretty much everybody, except Macron's party of the center, wants to spend more money. Everybody wants to be irresponsible. Everybody wants to run France into a financial crisis. Well, they're going to get their chance because I think the right is going to win very soon. Anyway, as a consequence of this proposed budget, 364 deputies in the National Assembly voted they had no confidence in the government, while 194 gave it their confidence. And as a consequence, the Prime Minister resigned. Now, a new Prime Minister will do what exactly different? Still have to cut spending. So it's not clear where France goes from here. Another election? Another election produces what? Is that the election where the far right breaks out? Is that the election where the far left breaks out? Who is going to actually, in the end of the day, govern France? And if it's the far left or the far right, then France is finished economically. It's in dire strait right now. And it's going to be in much worse shape if one of those political parties wins, because both political parties are committed to spending like there's no tomorrow. They might disagree about immigration. They might disagree about trans. They might disagree about maybe, I don't know, about other, cultural things. But they all agree we need to increase pensions. We need to redistribute more wealth. We need to increase the welfare state. We need to regulate business. We need to control business. The left and the right completely, like everywhere in the world these days, completely agree on those issues. And that is a recipe for economic disaster. And with France on the brink of a real potential financial crisis or economic crisis, I don't know where the rest of Europe goes. I mean, Germany is puttering along. Northern Europe is doing okay. Italy seems to be doing okay. Spain and Portugal, Italy, Greece are all doing okay, but primarily because of tourism, which they hate. Tourism is driving the economies of Greece, Italy, Spain, Portugal. But what happens if and when tourism dries up? Or their hostility towards tourism causes tourists to stop coming, stop visiting? What happens then? the world's in trouble because the US is in trouble. We've talked about that over and over and over and over again. Europe is in trouble. Asia's in trouble because it's basically got shrinking populations, and countries like Japan don't seem to be going anywhere. South Korea growth is very low. China growth is low. I mean, where in the world? And we were all very hopeful. I am very hopeful about Argentina, but hard to tell where that is heading now with these elections. Again, we'll see in October where that is going. But the economies of the world are struggling. People still have money because we lots of tourists, but all these economies that benefit enormously from tourists hate the tourists. Can't win. Can't win. All right. Thank you to all the super chatters. This is great. We made our goal for the first hour. We're kind of healthily on our way towards making the goal for the second hour. So thank you for that. We still need about $135 to get to the second hour goal, but we've got an hour to get there, which is great. Wes just came in with a $50 sticker. That helped a lot. Thank you, Wes. John Bales, thank you for the sticker. Roland, thank you. Let's see, who else can I thank here? Right, I think those are sticker people. So thank you for all the stickers. You too can become a sticker person, and I'll thank you too if you come in and support the show, value for value. This is how we fund the Yaron Brook Show. Contributions from you, super chats, stickers, things like that. That's what makes this show go. So please consider coming and supporting. Let's see, and we've got some sponsors. The Untitled Institute is a sponsor of the show, and the Institute has announced the launch of Ayn Rand Live, Ayn Rand Institute Live, which are live courses on objectivism and a variety of different topics that you can take at your own pace, or you can take them live, participate in the class, ask questions with instructors. You can even do homework assignments or not, up to you. You'll actually get somebody assigned to you to coach you for coaching, for those of you who are looking for coaching advice, career advice, and so on. This is a program that's being launched in October. You can sign up for it now, aynrand.org/start here, aynrand.org/start here. As a Yaron Brook Show listener, you get a 10% discount. It is 20, this is the code for the discount, 25 YBS10, 25 YBS10. Let me know if the video is kind of freezing up on you. I'm curious. It's freezing, yeah. Right. This there are going to be 3 courses launched in October. All excellent. You'll gain so much more knowledge of objectivism. It's how to apply it. There's one on work and how to view work, how to think about work. Objectivism's kind of unique approach, attitude towards work and career. So I encourage you to sign up for that. I think if you're young, starting up in business and work, you'd benefit enormously from that. Did video froze and then it unfroze? Just a bit, yeah. I mean, yeah, you can't rely on Wi-Fi. You just can't rely on Wi-Fi, and the wired internet here is not working properly. So tomorrow I'll try to get them to fix the wired internet. All right, so sign up. You're on aynrand.org/start here, and 25 YBS10 is the discount code to get a 10% discount. You don't have to apply. You just have to register. All right, and Hendershot Wealth with 2 T's, Hendershot, 2 T's, Wealth, all one word, .com/YBS, where you can find products that'll really help you with your financial management, particularly if you want to save on capital gains taxes. If you've got a large capital gains bill now or expect one in the future, check them out. They've got it's an amazing product. And it's not obvious what it does. So check it out. You can check out my interview with Robert Hendershot on YouTube. It's in my playlist for sponsors. Check that video out, and if you think it's applicable to you, then go to the website, sign up, and arrange for a call with them. This is not a sales call. It's an information call to see if there's a match. I think you'll enjoy it. I think you'll find it interesting. I think you'll find the interview interesting because it talks about finance and about taxes and about stuff like that. So check out the interview. I think many of you will find value in it, even if you're not in a position to benefit from it right now. All right, let's see. Finally, Alex Epstein. Alex Epstein is the world expert on all things energy, all things power. Power as powering industrial society, powering the world around us. Alex is an expert of fossil fuels and particularly on energy policy in the Trump administration. He knows a lot. So if you're interested in any of those areas, if you're interested in better arguments around any of those areas, if you're interested in what the future holds in any of those areas, start following Alex. alexepstein.substack.com, alexepstein.substack.com. Finally, I'll remind you, support the show monthly on a monthly basis. You can do that on patreon.com. Patreon.com, put your Yaron Brook show in and support the show value for value. If you're listening on a podcast, $10. If you do it through Patreon at the $10 level, you get a feed for the podcast that is ad-free, no commercials. No commercials. A lot of you have been asking for this for a long time. You now have it. You just have to make a $10 a month contribution on Patreon, and you will get that feed. So sign up, and of course the super chat here is available, and as are the stickers where you don't have to ask a question, just provide support. If you are on Twitter and this is I don't know if it's how well this is working on Twitter right now. Hopefully it is. All right, come on over to YouTube and where you can support the show directly. All right, let's talk about the super chats. We've got a bunch of super chats. Let's go over them, and of course, hopefully, more will come in as we talk. Let's see, Remo, thank you, Remo, 60 euros. Really appreciate the support. Remo says, "What are your thoughts on stock options backdating in general, and on the case involving Steve Jobs?" God, I mean, you're bringing back memories from a long time ago. I mean, I haven't thought about stock option backdating really since the mid-2000s, right? So this is 20 years. It's 20 years since these were big issues. It was the late 1990s, early 2000s, the stock backdating. I mean, look, my main issue with stock backdating is that it be disclosed. As long as shareholders know what managers are being paid, I don't really see a problem. I don't think it's good practice. I don't think board should allow it. I don't think shareholders could be happy about it. So stock backdating is all stocks have a date, right? Let's say they're issued and they have a certain strike price, and let's say in the meantime, maybe the stock goes down and then it goes up. Maybe the stock, is flat or goes up a little bit. But then, if you could backdate the issuance of the option, then the strike price would be a lot lower, and the CEO would make a lot more money, or whoever gets the backdated option would make a lot of money. So it's like after the fact adjusting the compensation. After the fact adjusting the compensation. So, I don't think it's something boards should do. I don't think it's something shareholders should be happy about. I don't think it should be illegal. I think it should be up to boards and shareholders. I don't think the government has any business in it. It's how, as long as it's disclosed. If it's not disclosed, if it's done in secret, then yeah, it could be fraud. And the tax issues around it, because of the way options happen to be taxed, and again, I won't go into the technical details, And that's what the government really got upset about and fined some people and so on. If I remember right, Jobs didn't really do anything bad, and it was disclosed, it wasn't hidden. So I apologize, Rima, I know you put 60 euros in this, and it's still only a vague memory for me because it was so long ago. But my general view is it's an issue of disclosure. It's an issue of compensation. It's an issue of how a board chooses to compensate their managers. And if they want to compensate them through backdating, so be it. I don't think shareholders should be happy about that, and they should vote against it against the board or against it, or sell their stock if they don't like it. That's how it should be expressed. It shouldn't be. I don't think the government has any business in it. There's no issue of fraud here, again, as long as there's disclosure. All right. James. Objectivism is such a relief. Ayn Rand was the first thinker who gave me permission to look at reality, when all my peers and professors shut that orientation towards thinking down immediately. Yeah, I absolutely. I mean, Ayn Rand not only gives you permission to look at reality, she gives you permission to value your reason, she gives you permission to value yourself and to live for yourself and to embrace you, to embrace your own values and celebrate their pursuit and their achievement. I mean, she gives you, in a sense, permission to value life and to celebrate life. And that is the great value here. That is, I think Rand is the first philosopher to really say, your life is the most important value to you. Live it. Make the most of it. Really live it. Don't sacrifice yourself. Don't give up on life. Don't give up on values. Whatever the context is, make the most of it. All right. Let's see. Ayn Rand was not married to Nathaniel Branden, so I'll just put that out there. I saw it in the chat and I'll put it out there. So yes, James, absolutely. Let's see, Andrew. This is actually from Friday. A leftover question from Andrew. As a social observer, my estimate would be that the percentage of the population that is happy, actually happy, is less than 10%. Does a small minority seem right to you? And why aren't more objectivists happy? Well, I don't know how many objectivists are happy. I think objectivists generally are happy. The objectivists I know, many of the objectivists I know are happy. And certainly it's above the general rate in the population. I think one of the reasons objectivists are not happy, or some objectivists are not happy, is because of the challenges of living an objectivist life in an irrational culture present to you, and seeing the irrationality and injustice that occurs in the world around us, and not being able to, not knowing how to handle it. I think a lot of people find it difficult to handle it. But I think about 10% of the general population is right, but I think it's much higher for objectivists. And that's a big part of the value of the philosophy. But yeah, it's a small percentage. Barbara, I read that the UCLA mathematician Terence Tao is looking for funding for his department after Trump pulled federal funding. Is there any point in funding U.S. universities when the federal government may take control? Well, I don't know that the federal government is going to take control over mathematics, over running the universities, particularly in the STEM areas. So I wouldn't worry too much about that aspect of it. I mean, you have to think about whether it's worth funding an American university, given what they're teaching at these universities. And I don't know much about Terence Tao and his research in mathematics and how good he is. I just don't know. But I would say, yeah, if he's good, if he's moving the field forward, if he's advancing knowledge in mathematics, then I wouldn't worry too much about who's taking over or what's exactly happening at UCLA. UCLA is already being taken over by the left in dramatic form, and is a state university. So in many respects, it's already beholden to the state government. I don't know the extent to which the federal government is equipped now to go manage a bunch of universities. We will see. But it's certainly worth considering supporting a good mathematician out there, and showing that can be done without government money. I thought Tao was actually thinking of going to China and getting big offers from China to come and move his research over there, which makes a lot of sense. Andy, Great Depression question. Triumph of economic freedom blames the Fed for failing to act as a lender of last resort in 29. Why didn't the JP Morgan type step in 29 as in 1907? Was this related to the creation of the Fed? Yeah, the whole point of the creation of the Fed and the whole excuse and reason was the unhappiness with the fact that JP Morgan did what he did in 1907 and the fact that the private sector had that kind of power that they had in 1907. So JP Morgan was seriously discouraged from doing anything in 29. The motivation was gone. His wings were about to be clipped completely in the 33 and 34, in the 34 Securities Act, where you get a separation, or maybe it's 33, separation of commercial and investment banking. The attitude towards bankers is very negative. And I don't know what the position was of JP Morgan in 29 and whether they were in a position at that point to act as lender of last resort. I don't know that I would blame the Fed for failing to act as a lender of last resort in 29. I would blame the Fed for having a monetary policy in 30 and 31 and certainly the end of 29 that was way too constrained, was way too constrictive, and basically shrunk the money supply significantly at a time when the money supply needed to be expanding, and made money disappear artificially from the U.S. economy. And that resulted in banks not issuing credit and therefore not making loans and calling back loans that they wouldn't have needed to, that forced companies to go bankrupt. It caused a whole cascading effect, and the fundamental was that the Fed, basically constrained the money supply in a significant way during the latter part of 29, 30, 31. Instead, it had been too loose with money in the 20s, leading up to 29, and being way too constrained with money after the financial crash. And maybe that is what he means by lender of last resort. But no, this was the job of the Fed. The Fed had basically crowded out private initiative. Private initiative was gone. Couldn't have done anything. Michael says, I'm speaking to many Floridians, and they seem pretty gung-ho about the vote coming up to abolish property taxes. It seems property values in Florida have skyrocketed as people from the Northeast buy properties there. Well, but recently property values in Florida, as I understand it, have flattened out and actually decreased. Indeed, condo prices in southern Florida have come down significantly. That is, condo prices are actually on the decline at least in southern Florida. But yeah, I'm sure everybody's excited about getting rid of property taxes. It's fantastic. That would be any place where you offered people the opportunity to get rid of property taxes, and you had a solution to making up, to not driving the state into fiscal deficit and into accumulation of debt, should be celebrated. And this is great that Florida is going to get rid of the property tax. I hope it doesn't lead to big deficits and debt. We'll see. But getting rid of a tax completely, from beginning to end, completely uprooting it, is a great step towards freedom. And therefore, you have to support getting rid of property taxes in Florida. Maybe more people will start moving there, driving up prices even further. What do you think of the, this is Nottingham, what do you think of the arrests, think of all the arrests in UK for bad tweets? Are there any tweets that the authorities should arrest people for? I mean, what's going on in the UK is just horrific. It's not only in the UK, it's also going on in Germany and other parts of Europe. Arresting people or harassing people or indicting people over speech, over insulting speech, but speech. The only kind of tweet, the only kind of speech that you should be arrested for is speech or tweet, which is the same thing, which is explicitly threatening. I want to kill you, or I'm going to kill you, or I'm coming after you, or I'm going to beat the shit out of you. That is not allowed. That kind of speech you should arrest people for. But anything short of an explicit threat, I think Islam is a horrible religion. I think Muslims should be deported from England. That is not an explicit threat. That is not you threatening somebody with violence. It's maybe encouraging the government to inflict violence, but that is not you inciting. I mean, another thing that you could be arrested for is, hey gang, let's go, go kill him. Hey, all you white folks, kill a Muslim today. That would be inciting to violence. That you could be arrested for. But saying Islam is an evil religion, the government should deport them, that is not an incitement for violence, and therefore that is permissible. So the only thing that is, the only speech that you can arrest people for is either a direct threat or incitement. And 99.9% of the tweets that people are being harassed by the government for are neither of those things. So it is a massive injustice. The UK, which is the Enlightenment, the land of the Enlightenment, the place where free speech was supported and endorsed from John Locke all the way to the Scottish Enlightenment to Mill in the 19th century. This is the land in which they are going after free speech the way they are is just horrific. It's a tragedy. It's a travesty. This government should be kicked out. The problem is the conservatives started it. And in Germany, it's the right and the left that are promoting this. The current government, which is the right of center government, is going after anybody criticizing politicians, which is absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. All right. Thanks, Nottingham. Okay, Dan says, you I believe you recommended a Mike Ryan on Twitter the other day. What's his handle? I couldn't find which Mike Ryan you were referring to. Let me see if I can find him, and I'll let you know. There are a lot of Mike Ryans. I see your point. I think it's this one. Let me just see. Nope, not that one. Right. It's not that. It's that. I don't believe it's this. No. That's weird. I thought I followed him, and I thought they would put the one that I follow right on top, but that's not the way it's working. All right, I will find him and let you guys know, because I can't see it right now, but he pops up on my feed all the time, and so we will find it. I will find it. Let's see. Huh. No, that's not it. There are a lot of Mike Ryans. Look at this. Mike and Michael. Yeah, and you know, you can't really find it, but just you can't search the description. Weird. All right, I'll find it for you. I'll get back to you. Sorry about that. Catherine, what do you think are the consequences of the U.S. Cutting funds to support the military in the Baltics? It's a Russian attack more likely? Do you think it is a plan that the EU is investing more in its military? What is cut next? Well, I think you can expect the U.S. to start cutting its troops in Europe. I think you can expect cut bases in Europe, more troops back home. I think that they will cut, again, the number of planes, number of tanks that the United States has in Europe. And the question will be, will the Europeans fill the gap? That is, will the Europeans deploy enough resources to fill in and to make up the difference from the United States entering the European theater? And I don't know. I mean, they say they will, but if the French economy is going into the tank, Germany is going to try to raise a lot of debt in order to fund military expansion. But will the market let it? Are people convinced that Germany can pay the debt back? The Europeans have enough money to replace the United States' presence in Europe and to build up. I mean, the UK is an economic basket case and it wants to invest a huge amount of money in its military. Can it? Can it? It really is it's hard to tell. But look, weakness breeds violence. And the United States withdrawing, cutting funds to the Baltics is basically a signal to Russia that it has more of a free hand there. And it's a signal to Russia to go for it. So I think Russia will take it as a positive sign, as a sign of weakness, as a sign America will not come to the Baltic support, and therefore much more likely to see a war with NATO, much more likely to see, I mean, if you've ever seen a map, the Baltics are tiny. Russia should be able to take Lithuania in a day. Now, I mean, I'm sure Lithuania has a lot of defenses, so maybe longer than a day, but a lot of casualties, a lot of destruction, and Russia could probably, just by sheer momentum, just overrun all three Baltic states. And then what? Is Poland going to invade Russia? Is Poland going to come to their defense? Is NATO? Poland is now willing to put troops in Ukraine. Would Poland be willing to put troops in the Baltics if the Americans are not? It just puts it all up in the air. And yes, I think it dramatically increases the chances that Russia will launch an attack on the Baltics and maybe on the rest of Europe. All right, guys, we are, what are we? We are $79 short of our second hour goal. We got about 100. We got half an hour to raise that money, so we can do it. We just got $20, so that chipped in. So we're only $59 away from the goal. So please consider supporting us. I'm not giving any kind of a number of super chats or sticker goals because I don't think it's working. So I need to complain to YouTube and get straight on that. Okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to put Gnubrish on timeout. I mean, enough, right? I mean, the same question every time, all the time. It's boring and it's silly, and you're not going to get different answers. So if you're interested in coming to the chat to actually engage with people on anything of substance, then fine, as long as you don't overwhelm the chat. But if you're just going to come here and ask the same stupid question over and over and over again and not participate in the super chat or the stickers at all, then what's the point? You're just basically trolling and harassing, and there's no value to it. All right, Paul says, you mentioned Japan, not your area. Just curious what you think. Housing market there appears to be cheap. Yes, quite cheap. I was thinking about buying a property there and creating an Airbnb in Kyoto. What do you think of Japan for expats? I think Japan's a great place for expats. It's surprising that it's cheap, partially because the dollar is still very strong relative to the yen, but also because Japan doesn't have the zoning that we have in the US. So Japan matches supply to demand, and so it's much easier to build in Japan. It's much easier to build different types of property. You don't have the same kind of downtown and suburbs as you do in the US, where the zoning is such that you can only build high rises in one place. Houston is an aberration because Houston doesn't have zoning. So Houston has a series of kind of downtown of high rise areas. And because there's no zoning or very little restrictions. And Houston housing is very cheap. It's very affordable because you can build. There's no limitations on building. So as demand goes up, supply goes up. And Houston is the fastest growing city in America or something like that. So, so I think Japan is a friendly culture. It's difficult because they don't speak a lot of English. So that's the one difficulty expats have. So I encourage you, if you're going to be an expat, to study Japanese. I don't know the economics of Airbnb, so I'm curious about economics of Airbnb. If anybody knows the economics of Airbnb, send me a note. But I'm interested in that, so I can't recommend or not recommend getting into Airbnb in Kyoto. Kyoto is a great city. It's a beautiful city and a very touristy city, so you'd expect there to be demand for something like that in Kyoto. Best I can do. But yeah, real estate in Japan, don't expect it to go up in value. Japan has a much more rational real estate market than the United States, in the sense that you can build. How about that? You can build in lots of places around the world, except in the land of the free and the home of the brave, where you can't build. Nope, not in my backyard. Maybe in somebody else's, not in mine. All right, Remo. I just returned from my holiday in Greece. The food was incredible. What's your favorite Greek food? Oh, I don't know. Moussaka? I'm not sure. I like Greek food. I don't know. I can't say what my favorite Greek food would be. I'd have to have a list at a restaurant. And also depends on the restaurant, because some restaurants make some stuff really good. But yeah, Greece, it's hard to go wrong. The food is good. Remo, can you already tell us where and when you'll be speaking in Europe during your October tour? Yeah, I mean, this is tentative. But I'll be in Israel probably October 28, 29. I'll be giving a talk in the Tel Aviv area, Herzliya area to be more accurate, in Israel, 28, 29th of October. On the 30th of October, I'll be speaking in Krakow. I mean, this is all tentative, but in Krakow, Poland. So if you're in Krakow, Poland, the 30th of October. 1st of November, I will be, again, probably in Prague at the Free Cities Conference. Should be interesting. On the 2nd of November, I will be in Oslo at some student event. I don't know, I don't have the details about it. Hopefully we'll get them in the next few days. But I'll be speaking on the 2nd of November in Oslo, Norway. 4th of November, which is a Monday, that's a Saturday. So Saturday in Oslo, nothing Sunday. Monday, I'll be in Vienna. I'll be speaking at the Hayek Institute in Vienna, open to the public. So Vienna. So if you live anywhere near Vienna, come over. And then on the 5th of November, I'll be in Porto, Lisbon, which is also, I don't know if I'm allowed to say. Anyway, in Porto, Lisbon, in Porto, Portugal. And then on the 5th on the 6th and the 7th of, no, wait a second. So on the 3rd I'll be, yes, on the 3rd I'll be in Vienna, on the 4th I'll be in Porto, on the 5th and 6th I'll be in Lisbon giving talks. Got a very active group of objectivists in Portugal right now, doing a lot of stuff and want to capitalize on that, so we're trying to use it. And I'm going to do some pretty high-profile events in Portugal with some pretty big intellectuals who appear on television regularly in Portugal, academics, a very wealthy businessman who is a very successful podcaster. So these are going to be really high-profile events while I'm in Portugal. So I'm really looking forward to those. So those are the events for Europe right now. Nothing, unfortunately, in the UK this trip. I thought I was going to spend a few days in the UK. It turns out I can't. I have to go to Israel instead. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see where I will go early next year. Probably come to the UK in the new year, but this trip, no UK. All right, and by the way, if you have a venue, if you have an audience, if you have a location, if you have a country, if you have a city, if you have a group in a university, if you have a business group, something in Europe where you can organize something with at least 50 people or 20 people, but really high-level people, then let me know. I can come. We can arrange funding. Funding can be organized. So just what I need is the people, the contact, the organization to make it happen. So any place in Europe or in the US, I don't know why I said Europe, anywhere in the US, anywhere in Europe, anywhere in Canada, anywhere in South America, if you can organize an event, if you can organize an event, or if you know people who would be interested in organizing an event for me to come and speak, let me know. There's a budget for that and we can make stuff happen. Thanks, Remo. All right. Not your average algorithm. If Milei wins re-election in a landslide, will it be a signal to other world leaders to at very least be less afraid of moving in a substantial free market direction? I mean, first he has to win in a landslide, which, again, this election suggests he won't. But if he does, I don't think there's any leader in the world right now afraid to move in a substantial free market direction. I don't think there's any leader in the world right now that wants to move there. But there you are. So the very least, so the problem is not that they're afraid to do it. The problem is they don't believe in it. They don't want to do it. They have no intention to do it. Harper Campbell, if AOI did a documentary on objectivism, could they pay a platform like Dave Rubin or someone with a sizable audience to release it on their channel? I don't know. I mean, let's not speculate on that. I'm not sure I want it to be on Dave Rubin's channel, given the direction that channel has taken. So, we could figure out where to release it and how to do it and how to get the most bang for the buck. But that's a separate question. First, it has to be created. All right. If you want to ask me a question, as I know Nate does, Super Chat is available for $2, $1 for $1.99, or for $5 or $10 or $50 or $100. You can ask that question right in the Super Chat. Other people are doing it that way. So if you really want to ask a question, it's not that you don't have the money, because $2. Everybody has $2. All right. Liam says, were your Q&A with Harry and Peter Schwartz at the Florida conference, which I should have told you about, right? Hey, there's a Florida conference. And it is, let me get you the info. It's happening the last weekend of January, the weekend that includes February 2nd, which of course is Ayn Rand's birthday. And it is Rand's Day Objectivist Conference, which was held for the first time last year and will be held again, first time this year, earlier this year in January, and will be held again next year, January 30th to February 2nd, 2026. It'll be in Fort Myers, Florida, and I'll be speaking, and Harry Binswanger and Peter Schwartz and Ellen Kenner, Shoshana Milgram, Gene Maroney, Don Watkins. I'll be there, and I'll be doing a panel with Harry and Peter on life in a laissez-faire society. But you should all come. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be mostly it's fun to be there in person and to hang out and to chat and to hang out with other objectivists. And it's great weather. It's a good time to leave the cold of the East Coast of the East or West Coast or the middle of the country or even Europe, and come on over to Florida and enjoy the warmth and the great weather. So you can visit the website, ransdaycon.the, one word, .com. Ranscon, one word, .thebvh.com. And on October 15th, the price goes up. It's only $377, which is a bargain, right? It's unbelievable good price for what you're getting. And the price goes up to $437 on October 15th. So sign up now. Sign up now at the website I just told you about. Will it be recorded and uploaded? I don't know. I'm not in charge. I think the talks last year were recorded and uploaded at some point, but I don't know. I think the organizer of the conference would prefer me to tell you, Liam, come to the conference. Don't rely on the YouTube video. It might be, it might not be, but come to the conference. Michael, in Germany, there wasn't any pro-Enlightenment opposition to Hitler. But in America today, there doesn't appear to be any respectable or decent-sized pro-Enlightenment opposition to Trump's barbarism. Well, I don't think that's right. I mean, there is call it the center. I don't know what you want to call it today in American politics. It's very hard to define anything in American politics today. But there is a center-left, center-right in America that's quite opposed to Trump. It doesn't have, I think, mass representation, but the intellectuals are there. You saw with the numbers I gave earlier today that Trump's immigration policies are not popular. There's a lot of mainstream opposition to them among the American public. And I think there is opposition to him. And of course, there is, a significant, there's an objectivist movement, there's an abundance movement, there's a pro-growth movement, there's all kinds of movements that are opposed to Trump's policies, in various regards. And of course, the left is very opposed to his policies regarding abortion and other things. So I don't think it's quite as bleak as it was in Germany when everything was dominated really by the communists and the Nazis once you entered the 1930s. Liam, does paying high taxes and sustaining a welfare state really make rich people feel good about themselves? No, but I think it reduces the amount of guilt that they have. So it doesn't make them feel good about themselves. To feel good about yourself, you have to actually have a positive value. But it makes them feel less guilty, or at least they try to convince themselves that it should make them feel less guilty, because they've convinced themselves that they should feel guilty for all the poverty in the world and all the problems in the world, and that they're not paying enough taxes. So it's an alleviation of a negative, not the promotion of a positive. Whoops, what did I just do? Michael, does it look like Mamdani will lose in New York City? Trump gives Adams a job in his administration. He drops out the race. It's Cuomo versus Mamdani, where Cuomo is way ahead in the polls. I haven't seen the polls, so I don't know if that is the case. Adams has now said he will not take a position in the Trump administration and is in the race and is not going to leave. So that's not clear that it's going to happen. But I think if it was just one-on-one between Mamdani and Cuomo, Mamdani and Adams, Mamdani would lose, but I'm not sure it's going to be a one-on-one. So I don't know. I have no insight into the New York race. I don't think Mamdani can generate 50+% of the vote in a race with just one other prominent person. But in a three-way race, I think he wins, unfortunately. And I think both Cuomo and Adams are too narcissistic, too power lusting to actually leave the race and allow the other to take on Mamdani. Not your average algorithm. Do you think a Kamala Harris administration would have allowed NVIDIA and AI to flourish in an unregulated way like Trump is doing? Not like Trump is doing, but I think they would have been very cautious in the amount of regulations they would have imposed. The Democratic Party gets a lot of its money from Silicon Valley. Silicon Valley has not been overly regulated even by Democratic presidents. So while I think they would have been more inclined to regulate, would have been worse for the industry than Trump, I don't know by how much. A Kamala Harris administration would have been really, really, really bad from a regulatory perspective, just like Biden administration was. I mean, I was an investor in banks, and Biden was a disaster for my investments. I did really badly because of Biden. Trump is good for certain industries, yeah. Is he good for the country, though? Is he good for AI? Yes, probably. We'll see. Probably. Is he good for the country? No. Even as important, as big of a deal as AI is, other things are bigger. Like the very nature of what this country is about is bigger. Andrew says, if altruism is accepted because of fear of independence, as Rand theorized, how does objectivism resolve this fear? Well, it's very hard unless you basically get kids into Montessori schools and get kids into a better quality education at a young age. So to the extent that what you really need is a significant improvement in our educational system, an education system that gives kids the confidence to trust their own minds. Without that, it's hopeless. You're not going to you're not going to overcome the fear with adults that have already internalized it, and some will get it, and some will overcome the fear. But again, too many have been influenced by their education, and the only way to truly reverse this, to reverse it in a sustainable way, is through education. Until you can do that, you're limited in terms of the number of people who embrace independence and therefore reject altruism, to those people who are strong enough to overcome the fear. And we know there are some of those because they're right here, some of them in the chat. All right, Raymond, I was listening to Gershwin's Rhapsody in Blue, and the minute the soaring swell comes in, I said, it's so American, and only an American could write this. It's definitely American, there's no question about that. But, there are lots of that kind of sense of life. You certainly have that in Rachmaninoff, second piano concerto, third piano concerto. You get some of that in Tchaikovsky. You get some of it even in Dvorak. So you get that that American sense of life, even with somebody who is not an American. Composers who just have that sense of life. All right, I just did 5 membership gifts. I just gifted 5 memberships. Hopefully, you guys got one. Gershwin's Rhapsody in Blue is beautiful. Raymond, why do you think this is? Nothing exists like this in prior European music. It's not complicated, and surely people want the repression of joy. Again, you see this in Rachmaninoff. I mean, you see this in Tchaikovsky's first piano concerto, maybe even in his second. You can see it in the moments. You can see it in Beethoven, only moments. But you can see it in, God, I'm trying to think. Those are the obvious examples, but there are others, I think. moments in parts of Tchaikovsky's violin concerto. So it's because Europeans don't have this sense of life. They don't have this joyous sense of life in general. I mean, again, you might get it here or there, like in Rachmaninoff, but not as a trend, not as something popular. They don't respond to it. They're repressed. Not repressed. They're downtrodden. They have a very negative sense of life. They're malevolent. They're dark, right? They have a dark sense of life. It's really unusual that you get Tchaikovsky and Rachmaninoff, who are Russian, who come from a really dark place, who can write joyous music like they do. Think of some of Tchaikovsky's ballet music. So I don't think it's purely American, but it's primarily American because America developed a sense of life out of a sense of individualism, conquering the frontier, engaging with reality, challenging, being confronted and challenged by reality, standing up to it, which the Europeans just don't have the equivalent of that. There's nothing in European culture that stands up to that. Christopher says, Augustina Verga Sid should talk more about Milei. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, she knows a lot more about Milei than I do. She's from Argentina. She studied it more. Baltics says, as a Generation Z working hard in an environment where rational self-interest keeps me from connecting, is it possible to avoid loneliness? Well, I mean, you've got to find people who respond to your self-interest. People who are also engaged in self-interested action. People who respond to your focus on work and focus on self. There are people out there like that, friendship and romantic partners. You just have to expend the energy to try to find them. They might be other objectivists near where you live. You have to try to discover them and find them, and then come to conferences or go to events where you might find people who share at least the sense of life, if not the explicit philosophy. Don't give up on that. Benjamin says, I've attended a conference recently and was suggested by fellow students to network with pros in the industry I'm trying to enter, though I found it futile to build bridges that early. Was I wrong? I don't think it's ever too early to build bridges, and I don't think it's futile. I think a conversation with a pro in a particular industry is always going to make you better than what you is always going to make you mildly better. You'll learn something. You'd be surprised of how many people are happy to mentor, even on a casual basis, mentor people. So absolutely go out there and talk to people, engage with people who are pros in the industry. I don't think you should dedicate a huge amount of time to it, given that it's still early for you. But I would definitely start. There's no reason not to. There's only upside. There's no downside. And maybe the upside is small because it's so early, but it exists, so why not spend the time doing it? You're at a conference. What else is there to do? All right, guys, we are, what is it, $31 away from achieving our second hour goal, which would be really, really good if we did that. We're 10 minutes away from the 2-hour mark. We probably won't go into the third hour, but we will do a solid 2 hours. It would be nice if we made it to $500. I'll change the goal to $500 so you can see the numbers. So it's just $31. So if people want to do some stickers, maybe we can get 30 people to do $1 stickers, and we can get there, and all is good. So yes, if you want to support the show, value for value, now is the time to engage. All right, Aaron says, I am a gay objectivist. I love Ayn Rand and her philosophy, but upon reading The Psychology of Self-Esteem, I saw some really nasty things about gays. How do I reconcile this as a gay man? You reconcile it by not agreeing with whatever the nasty things that were said are. You know, being an objectivist does not mean you have to embrace everything that Ayn Rand or Nathaniel Branden wrote. You don't have to agree with everything. It's about the philosophy. and attitudes towards gays, as reflected in Psychology of Self-Esteem or in some of her Q&As, is more psychological observation, not a philosophical one. So what you're embracing when you're embracing objectivism is the philosophy, the metaphysics, the epistemology, the ethics, the politics and aesthetics. You're not embracing every psychological observation that Ayn Rand made. Some of them might be wrong. And with regard to her attitude towards gays, they probably are wrong. And I think if she'd lived longer, I think she would have changed her mind. So, yeah, your focus is on the philosophy. Your focus is on the philosophy. So focus on that. And look, the purpose of the philosophy, the purpose of being an objectivist is to use the philosophy to live the best life that you can live. The purpose of being an objectivist is not to agree with other objectivists or to agree, it's not to join a tribe. It's not to agree with other objectivists, it's not to agree with me, it's not to agree with Ayn Rand or Leonard Peikoff. It's to embrace the philosophy and apply it to your life. So apply it. And recognize that Ayn Rand was probably wrong about gays. Leonard Peikoff changed his mind about being gay, and I think she was wrong. And I think she would have figured that out over time. As, for example, Leonard did. So, reading something and discovering Ayn Rand was wrong about something, okay, that doesn't undermine the philosophy, unless when you discover she's wrong about, I don't know, something fundamental philosophically. And then you have to rethink the entire thing, but this is not. So, yeah. Richard, $131. Thank you, Richard. Really, really, really appreciate that. Thank you. That gains us, puts us into the goal and beyond. So, very much appreciated. All right, esoteric dichotomy. Hey, you're on sci-fi. Would you become a vampire? What's that? Immortal but die in the sun, need blood. If you attained your mind, could buy trade for blood. I don't know, maybe. I mean, I'd certainly consider it. If I could trade for the blood. Yeah, I'd certainly consider it. Anybody have an offer? Immortality? Anomalous. Which is a bigger problem, local or national governments? It depends on the period. I mean, it depends where you live. In some places, it's local government. If you're a woman in Texas, your bigger problem is the local government. It's not the federal government, because the local government is taking away your rights in significant ways. But look, the federal government is more dangerous. It can send you to war. It can round up immigrants. It can raise taxes, all kinds of taxes, although the local government can do the same. And you have a lot less say in it. So I think the bigger problem right now with Trump is the national government. I think there are periods and places where it might be the local government. But both are a problem. Marius, what would have to happen to African countries to let go of centralist policies and embrace private companies to develop their countries? I mean, they'd have to embrace capitalism. They'd have to embrace some semblance of capitalism. They'd have to embrace private property and the rule of law, which are the two keys. And of course, the sanctity of contracts. Private property, the rule of law. Margaret Wade, you should follow Margaret Wade if you're interested in introducing capitalism to Africa. She's very good on this. It's capitalism. What they need is capitalism. What they need is elements of capitalism. What is it going to take? I don't know, a change in ideology. A new generation of young people demanding freedom, demanding economic and political freedom, which they don't have in Africa. That's what Africa needs, economic liberty. And then it could boom. There'd be no stopping it. It could do a China. But, it's going to take time because the culture is so anti-property rights and contracts and rule of law right now because of bad intellectual leadership in Africa. From the days of the colonizers to the days of independence, where the intellectuals were all Marxists, and still are. Anomalous. Any movies that an objectivist would enjoy? I mean, there are lots of movies that objectivists enjoy. Objectivism doesn't, it's your sense of life that really is going to dictate which movies you enjoy. I'm trying to think right now, I don't know, I'm not very good at remembering movies. I mean, a very, 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 very old movie that I think you'd enjoy, everybody would enjoy, is Ninotchka with Greta Garbo. It's from the 1930s, and it's one of the funniest, best movies, I think, of all time. In the 1980s, I liked Last of the Mohican. I thought that was a very enjoyable movie. What is a movie somebody would enjoy today? What have I seen recently? It's enjoyable. I can't remember. Once in a while I do movie shows, primarily for members only, and I recommend certain movies. You might want to check out my, become a member on YouTube, and then check out the show I did for members only on Westerns. And one of the advantages of being a member is you have access to all my members only shows going back, and you can get the ones I did on arts and the one I did on Western movies. And there are a lot of Westerns that are really, really, really good. Miracle Work is good. October Sky is really good. Apollo 13th is good. These are all Michael Frost recommending. Those are all enjoyable movies. Yeah, that's a good beginning of a list. There's lots of movies we could add to that. All right, thank you guys. Thanks to all the super chatters. Thanks particularly to Richard, and I know Remo did quite a bit, and James, and of course, as always, Michael. Thanks for the support. Thanks to all the super chatters, the stickers, and I will see you all tomorrow. Right now, let's say it's at the same time. There's the potential for it to be an hour later, but let's assume it's the same time. Okay, Robert has a last-minute question, and it's about vampires, so I kind of have to take it. Speaking of vampires, I just donated a pint of O+, and since I have a low tolerance for pain, listening to the show is a good distraction. Thanks. Well, it's good that you don't find the show painful, because that would be bad. What is painful about donating blood? I guess I have a very high tolerance for pain, so I probably just don't know. All right. Thank you, Robert. Really appreciate it. And I wish you immortality for donating the blood. I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye, everybody.